This is the 14-part cluster chord at the climax of Eric Whitacre's Water Night. Crunchier than a Butterfinger, sure, but it also doesn't sound like someone sat on a piano. It's not random. And I've also seen scores that instruct you to just pick a random member of the scale, but again, that's not what's happening here. So why does this chord work? Did he uncover the secret chord that David played to please the Lord? Is his hair actually magic? No, it actually comes down to two things: voicing and voice leading. Voice leading is the linear progression of a particular part and the way that it interacts with all the other parts. Theory students will no doubt recognize the following guidelines. Keep the common tone where possible. Try to move to the closest chord tone, and try to avoid jumping into dissonances. While these are not hard and fast rules, they're still great ideas. These particular guidelines allow singers to easily glide into a 14-part cluster chord. Well, maybe not easily, but maybe not as difficultly. To understand why this chord works, we actually need to go back to the beginning of the phrase. The preparation for this chord starts here. We have a tripled root and a third. All things considered, that's a pretty easy start to the phrase. Let's color code each voice part to see how they move. Green if it moves by step, blue if it stays the same, and orange if it jumps. And we see we have mostly steps in common tones. This makes it much easier for the singers, and it makes the line much smoother for the ear. We do have a few jumps, but we'll see in a second why those jumps aren't necessarily bad. Second, let's look at voicing. Voicing has more to do with things like the spacing of the chord, which chord members and extensions are present, and where those members and extensions lie within the chord. It's entirely diatonic, meaning there's no accidentals. And there's only 7 unique pitch classes in the diatonic set, which means that something has been doubled, or more specifically, a lot of somethings have been doubled. Maybe we should ask first, what chord is this? This song is in D-flat major, and I feel pretty confident calling this chord a D-flat major chord, with an 11 and a 13 thrown in, given that 8 of the 11 notes in the chord are either D-flat, F, or A-flat. The chord in question is a little bit less straightforward, namely because every member of the D-flat major scale is present. So let's look at where we ended up. You'll notice from the piano reduction that we have open spacing in the basses and clusters up top. This is generally a good idea. Clusters in the bass would be really muddy, whereas this voicing allows for some clarity. For more on the spacing of chords, check out this video on how to use the harmonic series to space chords. Being that basses are our foundation, I'm going to argue that this is some kind of G-flat major chord, namely a G-flat 13. If that's the case, here's a color-coded chart of the chord. The basses make up an open G-flat major chord. The tenors add a 7 and a 13 and double the root. Altos add a 9 and an 11, as well as a reinforcement of 3 and 5. And the sopranos double the 1, 7, 9, and 13. Notice that if we take away the bass notes, it's difficult to figure out where we are. At that point, it's just a disembodied cluster. In both the 11 and 14-part chords, the basses ground us with the structural harmonies keeping the listener's ear in D-flat major. And on top of all of that, we've got some text painting, the opening up of the chord on the text if you open your eyes. All of those things together is why this chord works. It's a combination of voicing and voice leading. With regard to voice leading, it keeps the common tone or moves by step when possible. When it does jump, it jumps to members of the chord. With regard to voicing, it allows for clarity, with the basses having gaps and the clusters being up top. And if you haven't listened to all of Water Night, you should absolutely go check it out. I've got a link in the description. Thanks for watching. YouTube allows viewers to sign up for a lifetime subscription to this channel absolutely free, so why would you not? But if you have benefited from my work and would like to make a contribution, please check out my Patreon page. Let me know in the comments which video you'd like to see next. You can also connect with me on social media or sign up for my newsletter to be the first to know what's happening. I'll see you next time.